Hey everybody, welcome back. So today we're going to be doing some lard. So first what we need is pig fat. So we have our bag of pig fat here. It is mostly thawed out. You do want it to be just slightly frozen. It makes it a little easier to cut off. I'm going to take a strip on here of our pig fat. I'm going to bring it over to our cutting board. We're going to slice it up into small pieces. The smaller your pieces, the better. It'll melt faster. You can do this in a crock pot or a regular pot. Since I have a lot to do, we're doing some in our crock pot, which is already started, and the rest we're putting in a pot over the stove to do. Like I said, you want some pretty small pieces, so about like that is good. You can do bigger if you want, but just remember it's going to take you a little bit longer then. So we're going to go ahead and cut up this whole bag. Our crock pot is on low. It's going to sit on low for 4 to 6 hours. And then our pot will be about 4 hours as well. Alright, so we have all of our pork on the burner. For our pot, we have it on medium-low. We do need to check on both of these and stir them every so often. So I would say every half hour to an hour, you need to come in here, give them a stir. They are going to start browning, and that's exactly what you want, but you're stirring them so they don't stick and burn. We're not adding anything to these. It is just the pork fat cut up in small pieces. Whereas when you do like beef tallow, you add water and salt. This is a little bit different. You don't want to add water to it. So we're going to let these cook, and then we'll come check on them in about a half an hour. As you can see, it's starting to change colors. It's starting to brown a little bit, and underneath of there is the liquid starting to form. Just be careful because this is fat and it's like grease under there, so it will pop and spray out. I did go ahead and turn it down to low because it was boiling a little too much. Right, so this has been on the stove for about an hour now. You can see all the liquid underneath of here. We're going to turn it down just a little bit more because we don't want it to be boiling. We do have it as low as our stove can go. We want to keep cooking until all of our pieces are crispy. You can see some of them are starting to get there. And our crock pot, we ended up turning up on high for a little bit, just to get it going a bit faster here. And you can see it is just starting to brown a little bit. We don't really have a ton of juice in here yet, but we will. This one will just take a little bit longer. Here's the total amount of liquid lard that we got from our crock pot and our other pot. We're going to put that in the fridge because I rendered mine a couple times to get rid of that pork taste. Here is all of our leftovers. Some of them are crunchy from the pot. The crock pot ones don't really get crunchy, but we're gonna render this again because we can definitely get more out of this. All right, so here's our tallow that was sitting in the fridge overnight. As you see, it's hard, or our lard, I'm sorry, not tallow. So what we're going to do is just scoop it and place it back in our crock pot. Now, we just want to remelt all this down. So we're gonna do it for about 4 hours again. We're just rendering it down even further. We're going to strain it through an even finer sieve this time. And then you can render this as many times as you want until you get like a good taste. So you can always taste it each time, like when you take it back out and see what it tastes like. Render it that last time and then put it in your jars. So we're gonna see what it tastes like excuse me, tomorrow morning after it comes out of the fridge. If it's good, we'll melt it down and then place it in our jars. Pork fat has melted down even more. This is our second time refining it. So now we're going to be running it through a finer mesh sieve. We did just a regular one last time. This time we're doing this one, and then next time we will do cheesecloth to get all these extra little pieces out of here. We're gonna strain it through there, put it back in the fridge, and then tomorrow morning we'll go ahead and do the same thing again. Of our extra pieces here from yesterday, we're gonna go ahead and throw back in our crock pot, and we're gonna melt these down even more. And they're gonna sit in here for the rest of the day, which will be about 5 to 6 hours. So this is our discard of our pork fat that we rendered down the second time. We went ahead and strained it and got all the liquid off of it, and we put that in the fridge to go ahead and harden up, and we're going to render that down a few more times. The original bit that we got off of it, we have back in our crock pot here, rendering down. This will be number 3. We're gonna taste it after this and see if it is good, not too pork tasting. If it still tastes a lot like pork, we're gonna render it down a few more times. All right, so our lard has been processed for the 4th time. This is number 4. So we have our strainer inside of our bowl, and then we're putting cheesecloth inside to get a really good strain. We'll probably end up doing this one about 5 times. I'll probably do it once more after this. Basically, you're just gonna pour it carefully because it's very hot. It's hot. Into here. Through your strainer. Then we're just going to lift our strainer up here, and it'll go through our cheesecloth. We'll get a nice strain here. All those brown little pieces out. You can see there's just a little bit of brown pieces left. The other strainer did pretty good. Sit this in our sink. We're gonna rinse our cheesecloth out, and then this we're gonna go ahead and stick in the fridge, let it form into lard. We'll render it down one more time tomorrow or later this evening if it hardens enough, and then we'll go ahead and pour them into our jars. So we're going to go ahead and ladle these into our jars. We have a damp cloth of white vinegar since this is oily. We have our jars filled with hot water. We're gonna dump them out. And then we have our, just this so we can pour it into it, and then we have our cheesecloth. We're going to drape over top and just push down in a little bit. And then we're going to go ahead and excuse me, ladle this in. Just over here so you can see how full our jar is. Now for these, you don't have to worry about leaving a head space because the less oxygen there is in it, the better. So you can take it pretty much up to the very, very edge. So we're gonna stop that one there. Drains through. Dump another one of these out, just put it right into it so it's ready to go. then we're going to take our rag, just wipe the edge here, all that off. We're going to put our clean lid on. Just gonna run it under hot water really quick. Place it on, and get your ring. And we're gonna get a hot pad because that is really hot. Tighten that like you normally would for canning. We're gonna set this to the side. We're gonna continue with all of them. To go ahead and let these cool down, and then once they are completely cool, they will harden and turn white. And the lid should also seal because they are very hot. Even if they don't seal, they're still shelf stable. All right, so we're gonna open up 2 of our jars. You can see they're 2 different colors. The lighter one, that is more of a very nice white color, we added water to, and this one we did not add water to. I found 2 different recipes that said 2 different things. So we did a small batch of this one with water, we did a larger batch of this one without water. And we honestly got a lot more that you don't add water in because it takes a lot out when you add the water. So we're gonna open them up and see what the difference is. So this is without water. You see it's very soft still. This is with water. I actually think I like the consistency with water better. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and do that, and I like the color better too. Just had 1 bag of lard in this one, so we put a half a cup of water in. If you do 2 bags, then you can do a whole cup of water. Once this is rendered down, we're gonna put it in the fridge overnight. Tomorrow we'll do a 1/4 cup of water, and then after that you do no water. I was reading some articles on how to render your own lard, and it actually says you can add water. Some sites say not to because it doesn't last as long, but then other sites say different. I personally liked it better with water in. I did read the reason why the one is lighter in color than the other is because the one that is more of a yellowy color, we rendered our lard a second time, the little pieces that already melted down, so they were browned already. Yeah, pieces. They were browned already, so that made our lard turn a little bit darker color. You can keep that separate if you want and put in a separate jar, because that is going to be a little bit stronger in flavor than what you first render. What you first render down is good for baking, like pie crusts and that kind of stuff, whereas when you render it down a second time with your pieces that were already rendered, that one is better for cooking and that kind of stuff where you can't really taste that porky flavor. Also, homemade lard is going to be a lot softer and spreadable than the lard that you buy at the store that has added ingredients in to make it hard. So your homemade is not going to be hard like that, so just keep that in mind. I did stick it in the fridge for about an hour or 2 and then pull it back out. Keep in mind they're already sealed and it's not going to hurt them at all. And then they do tend to harden up a little bit more and stay a bit harder, and they're not as liquidy. Here's our finished lard. We do have another batch going in the crock pot, so we will have more. But we got 6 full jars and then 2 partial jars. These we did open, so we're gonna use these up first. So as you can see, here's the kind without water, and then here is the kind with water. So you can see the difference in the color still. It's not a whole lot different, but it is a slightly different color. The one with water is a little bit lighter. I did throw them in the fridge for about an hour, pull them back out, and then they stay a little bit harder. They're not so runny. So these are shelf stable because the jars are completely sealed. Even the ones over here that are opened will last a long time. Just make sure you smell it before you use it. You'll be able to smell if it's no good, but it takes a long time to go bad. But thank you guys so much for watching.